Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
As Suicide Prevention Week and 4th through the 10th and September 10th as 2022 as World Suicide Prevention Day. National Suicide Prevention Week. Whereas the week of September 4th through the 10th, 2022 is National Suicide Prevention Week, a time in which individuals, organizations, communities around the country join their voices to amplify the message that suicide can be prevented. And whereas it is recognized that people of all ages benefit from common tenets of wellness, such as access to effective health and behavioral health care, social support, and sense of meaning and purpose. And whereas attitudes and perceptions about aging, behavioral health challenges, and suicide have a significant impact on individual wellness and the willingness to reach out for support and services that alleviate the stress. And whereas cultivating and maintaining wellness is a lifelong pursuit of individuals of all ages can benefit from integrating wellness into their daily routine to prevent or to reduce the severity of a broad range of health and behavioral health problems. And whereas knowing the signs of suicide, finding the words to talk with someone that may be thinking of suicide, and reaching out to local resources are steps everyone can take to take care of themselves and others. Whereas all Californians are urged to play a role in suicide prevention and promote health and wellness as we strive towards zero suicides. And whereas September 4th through the 10th, 2022 is recognized across the United States as Suicide Prevention Week, providing the opportunity to educate and engage everyone in our community to find their role in suicide prevention. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Sutter County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim the week of September 4th through the 10th, 2022 as Suicide Prevention Week, and that the day of September 10th, 2022 is proclaimed World Suicide Prevention Day. So thank you for all your work and everything you guys do at Behavioral Health. And for those of you who don't know, over at Behavioral Health, the amazing things that they do in this community, it's not just from what we're talking about here, suicide, but from substance abuse and a lot of other things. And it's one of those things that touches home to a lot of families. And we applaud those over there for what they do day in and day out. And especially, gosh, I think we're down 30% in that department. So they wear many hats, and it's a very stressed out situation, helping of all ages in this community. But thank you for all you do. We really appreciate each and every one of you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to the board for this recognition of Suicide Prevention Day and week, and also the month of September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month as well. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. That Centers for Disease Control states that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death among adults in the United States. But more sobering is for individuals between the ages of 10 and 24, it's the second leading cause of death. But the good news is that suicide is preventable, and that's why we're here. And our staff, John Flo and others from his staff, have been doing outreach throughout the community throughout September, and will continue to do so throughout the rest of the month. And we also have clinical services, obviously, that help individuals that are having thoughts of harming themselves. But I want to emphasize the fact that that's not just for September, right? This is something that we do all year round. We do outreach all year round. We let folks know that there are other options besides suicide, and we provide treatment for that as well. So thank you for that. There are resources in the back if folks would like to learn any more, but thank you to the board.
Thank you. Members of the public will be allowed to address the board on items of interest to the public that are within subject matter jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors. State law provides that no discussion or action may be taken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. And we're going to bring up the consent item. Well, I'm sorry, consent calendar?
We have a few public comment cards.
Okay. You know what? We're going to open up the public comment. And we have two, it looks like. And all right, so for the matter of time constraints, I am going to limit it to 3 minutes. We have one of our supervisors' father's not doing so well right now, so people can be by his side as soon as after this meeting. Tony Farley, you're up.
Test. Okay. I think all the government workers here did a very good job. Thank you for your service and keep it up. Hope the fire and police department has more. Hope fire department has more police. The staff, our staff, fire and police departments. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Liz Cervantes.
Well, that goes exactly against what I want to talk about. Liz Cervantes, District 5. Hi. Nice to see all of you. I'm very, very sorry for Carm. I want to talk about Measure A, even though I know it's not on the agenda. I've seen some invoices, BFS Printing, the marketing firm that Sutter County is paying to run this campaign, Measure A. And I'm just wondering if somebody could answer me or enlighten me as to how we can spend taxpayers' money to sell taxpayers a tax. That's my question. The other thing, and then I'm going to get out of your hair. 3 o'clock, I realize we're the only ones in the state, 58 counties, that have their meeting at 3 o'clock. You guys all know how I hate 3 o'clock. It's right in the middle of the day. We have the right to address our electeds. And when we're working, and especially in this climate, where people have got to go to work to put fuel in their tank and groceries on their table, I'm asking that it be agendized, that the meeting time be changed. I've had a conversation with a couple of you. Somebody said, what about 5 o'clock? Well, 5 o'clock is better than 3 o'clock, but it would really be nice if it was at 6 o'clock. I realize the staff issues. But really, I mean, almost everybody in this chamber is a staff member. That's my comment. I hope that we can get the meeting changed from 3 o'clock. It's extraordinarily inconvenient. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you very much. All right. Is there any other public comment? No more public comment. We're going to close the public comment. Move to the consent calendar.
Move for approval of the consent.
Second, items 1 through 22.
So we had a motion by Supervisor Flores, second by Supervisor Koenig. Can I get a roll call, please?
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegenmeyer?
Yes.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Moving on.
Excuse me, Chair. I believe there might be a public comment card for
you know
number
what?
13.
For 13, you're right about that. I apologize. So you know what? We're going to, sorry, I lost track of 13 and she asked me before the meeting if I needed to go over everything with her. I should have. All right. Tony, we're going to pull item number 13. So if we could.
We should probably. So move, I don't even know what the term is, but I'll go back and say this will be a move for approval of consent, pulling item 13 off first. I'll second that.
Perfect. Roll call, please.
Supervisors, I believe the motion will be a motion to reconsider.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So just.
I think I know that by now.
Reconsider. All right. So we have a motion by Supervisor Flores, and I believe. Second by Supervisor Conant. So roll call, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegenmeyer?
Yes.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. Bringing item number 13. Speaker Tony. I apologize, Tony. I didn't mean to bypass you there. I thought I saw 23 on there too. So, but can you come up to the back there? Thank you very much.
There you go. This is Sutter County District Attorney Office, military equipment use required by the State of California Senate Bill 481. Well, Sutter County Sheriff Department has a Lincoln Bearcat from Massachusetts where Lincoln Bearcats are built. Sutter County used to have an armored GMC van, the auction shop by Big Cal in Chico. And I believe Sutter County Sheriff Department has a mobile dispatch command vehicle, a mobile dispatch vehicle where has a telephone. That's military equipment right there. Also, Sutter County Sheriff Department has Vietnam era AR-15s, also shotguns and taser shotguns. So that's all these are military equipment. It's good for public city use against terrorists and foreign governments trying to invade us. So I support military equipment to support the civil defense homeland. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much. Now we'll bring item number 13 back, and I'll look for a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Conant, second by Supervisor Flores. Can I get a roll call, please?
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegenmeyer?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on. Mr. Zach.
Well, I'd like to request that we do number 24 before we do 23, if that's okay.
That's fine with me.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we'll go with 24.
Authorization to prepare a proclamation declaring September 2022 as National Preparedness Month in Sutter County.
So, good afternoon, Board. Today, I'm asking you, as the Board, to proclaim September Preparedness Month for Sutter County. National Preparedness Month is observed each September to raise awareness about the importance of preparing for disasters and emergencies that could happen at any time. Launched in 2004, FEMA's National Preparedness Month is annual preparedness outreach that aims to educate and empower Americans during the month of September and throughout the year to prepare for and respond to all types of emergencies, including natural disasters and potential terrorist attacks. Information is also provided to pet owners, seniors, individuals with disabilities, access and functional needs, and resources are available in 13 languages, including English and Spanish. The 2022 FEMA Ready campaign theme is a lasting legacy. This year, a lasting legacy theme focuses on 4 subcategories: kids, emergency kits, make a plan, and pets. To get more information about being prepared, you can go to ready.gov or bepreparedsutter.org. And then to add on to that, I kicked off the meeting with a bang. At 3 o'clock, we did our wireless emergency alert test. and that's in partnership with FEMA and the FCC. What's special about that test is it's a first of its kind. While we've tested WIA before, this is the first time FEMA and the FCC are getting real data from the cell phone carriers and from boots on the ground. So if you look at that message that went out at 3, there's a link to a survey for people to fill out so they can better understand how that system works here locally. So thank you.
Thank you, Zach. And I'm going to open up for public comment, and I have one speaker card. Mr. Tony, come on down, or come on up.
Thank you, Tony.
And I have you speaking on item number 23, which will be after 24.
Yeah, as Mercy Operation Manager Zach said, FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the National Weather Service always have the Mercy broadcast system from the Cold War era. The EAS, EBS, and CONLORAD. These are old systems from the Cold War. They are good for national emergency cases like a nuclear war, terrorist attack, flash flood, tornado, emergency action notification. It's good to use emergency broadcast technology to warn public for potential disaster or emergency. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, we're going to go to, oh, you know what? There is a vote on this, so we're going to close the public comment. We're going to bring it back to the board for a motion to proclaim September. All right, I'm sorry. So we have a motion by Supervisor Conant, second by Supervisor Flores. Did I get that right?
Yes.
All right, roll call, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Yes.
Supervisor Ziegenmeyer?
Yes.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving down to item number 23.
Okay, before I get started in my presentation, I'm going to invite Sheriff Barnes up for a couple opening comments.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair, members of the board. I just felt like I wanted to come today and support Zach. As many of you guys know, back before my first term, about 2018 when I was campaigning, one of the major concerns that was being brought to my attention at that time by our constituents was kind of the fallout from the Oroville spillway and, you know, what our roadways looked like during that time when we were trying to evacuate our population in these areas. And so one of the things I did was kind of commit to trying to find a better solution than what had occurred during that time. And so I came across Zone Haven. It was being used primarily in the fire industry. And I had brought that to Zach, and I had a pretty good conversation with him. You know, and I was careful to make sure Zach knew I wasn't specifically advocating for Zone Haven, but something like this I thought would be interesting and maybe something we could use to our benefit here in Sutter County. Zach, to his credit, was familiar with it and said, you know, Zone Haven is actually the gold standard in this area. And so over the course of the last couple of years, we've had some work groups going. We put a lot of work in behind the scenes to bring this presentation to you here today. So I want to thank Zach for all the work that he's put in, because this is really his area of expertise. And he put these work groups together from a lot of our departments, and they put a lot of time and effort into this presentation. So I just wanted to kind of set that up for Zach and thank him as well. And please enjoy the presentation.
Okay, so thank you, Sheriff, for that introduction. A little background for those of you who aren't familiar. In November, we came before the board with a contract for evacuation planning. Through that RFP process, Zone Haven was the chosen contractor for what we were trying to accomplish. So where would you go today to find out about evacuations in Sutter County? So for that, hopefully this presentation will answer that, and you'll have a better understanding after this. So Zone Haven is broken into two platforms: Zone Haven Evacuation and Zone Haven Aware. So the Aware is the public-facing component, and the Evacuation is the public safety component. These platforms bridge the gap between first responders and community members, and it will help our county and community get better informed with real-time evacuation updates during an emergency. Zone Haven Aware is the web-based platform for community members. Residents can look up their address using the search bar to find evacuation information in their area. Much like what we used last week when we were facing potential rolling blackouts on the PG&E website, you can go to the PG&E website and search your address. You can do the same thing here in Zone Haven Aware. Agency officials make changes to the zone status in Zone Haven Evac, and it's reflected real time in the Aware site. And you can go to the Aware site at community.zonehaven.com. So, as part of our planning efforts, we created 91 zones for the county. Majority of them are in Yuba City, but each one of them, excuse me, is broken out for that geographical area. So knowing your zone is critical to the evacuation process. If there is a wildfire or other emergency situation, this is how you would be able to check to know if you're in the impacted area. If you're ever asked to evacuate or shelter in place, these orders, along with other critical updates, will be communicated through to the public utilizing the Zonehaven Aware platform. Pre-established evacuation zones help fire, law, and emergency services agencies prepare for, streamline, and reduce confusion around the evacuation process. By evacuating the most at-risk zones first, emergency personnel are able to manage the traffic flow and more easily prevent the traffic jams that occur when entire towns, cities, or as we're familiar, counties, have to evacuate all at the same time. It also provides a common reference system for all first responders and the community. To find your zone, you would go to community.zonehaven.com. Utilizing the search bar, you would search for your address to learn what zone you live in, and then you'd write down that zone so you'd have it in a handy location in case an emergency happens where you can easily reference it. These are the zone statuses. Obviously, evacuation order is you need to leave immediately. Evacuation warning would be need to be prepared. If you have pets or family members that take a longer time to evacuate, now might be the time to leave. Shelter in place would be going indoors and shutting and locking your windows. Advisory would be on the lookout. So oftentimes California cities and counties utilize this for gas leaks or other hazardous materials incidents that don't require anybody to take action, but just for them to be aware of what's going on. Green would be your evacuation order is lifted, so it's now safe to return. Right now, if I go back a slide, you can see they're all white, so they're in a normal category. And then we also have a training category, so those first responders can train and be better prepared to utilize this in a real emergency. So the value of this is to keep your family safe. This is a new tool that will speed up our evacuation process. Knowing their zone will help get them and their family out of harm's way much faster. Knowing your zone protects property. Timely evacuations help us save time so we can focus on protecting homes and businesses. Knowing your zone keeps your community safe by providing county-specific information. Thank you. And in addition to that, having them know their information and being able to sign up for our emergency notification system is important. So the county evacuation process, if there's an emergency, we'll have first responders respond to the scene. They'll make a determination whether they need to evacuate or not. If they do make that determination, then we would issue an emergency notification, much like you received at the beginning of this meeting, through the wireless emergency alert, code red, and other features that we use. And then we would update the Zonehaven Aware platform to reflect that evacuation. So what does this mean for our residents? So the emergency would be detected, whether they get the alert, they see something, or they hear something from a neighbor. They reference their zone, that they know where they live. They check Zonehaven Aware. They grab their go bag. They check on their neighbors, and they evacuate. So are you ready to accept the challenge? So help us improve this evacuation process. So our next steps is going to be more work that has to be done educating the public about their zones. We will be integrating all of these zones into the county website, our flood brochures, and other preparedness literature. And then lastly, I encourage everyone to sign up for Code Red through the bepreparedsutter.org website. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, great job. And we are going to Open this up for public comment. Is there any speaker cards? Wait, no speaker cards. I do have one speaker card from Tony, though.
Yeah.
Tony, would you like to get up and speak on this one, too?
Yeah.
That one right there. Thank you, buddy.
Well, I think Zach, for his service for civil defense during times of need, during the Ukraine war, during COVID, during the price gouging, it's good to have first responders like Sheriff Barnes, emergency manager like Zachary, or the fire chief, Shalowitz, and also my other favorite, Tava, the Captain Tava of dispatch from Motorola, and then the FEMA phone. I appreciate this civil defense. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate everything. All right. With that said, we're going to bring it back to the board. We don't have anything to vote on, but I do want to make note something. If you could, I believe I'll be seeing Supervisor Conley from Butte County. He's working, I believe, on a grant right now on case studies for if something were to happen with the Orville Dam disaster, because we're going through a drought right now, but historically, we don't know what could happen in 2 or 3 years from now, and we want to be prepared. And everything that you guys are doing is outstanding. It's getting everything prepared, because everyone knows when you have dry pouches and you have fires that go through stuff, it makes it even more dangerous when you start getting flash floods and so forth. But thank you for everything, and like I said, I think it's imperative that we have a study session done on this before winter time. So we'll have it maybe a half hour before the meeting, one of the meetings before winter time going.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Zach, for your presentation. So question for you then, from zone to zone, let's say, the really big emergency, a potential flood event because of a levee breach, they could go to each of these zones and it will indicate to each citizen, say, which highway and which direction to evacuate from, or?
So there's a couple features in here that I did not comment on, but Zonehaven does interact real time with Waze. So as we put zones into evacuation orders, those who are using the Waze navigation app, the Waze will actually reroute them around that zone and not allow them to go through it because it is a closed area. While it does not automatically tell people which routes to go, that is a feature that we can do on the fly as we're evacuating. We can put it in text, and there are some icons that we can utilize on the mapping feature to help people understand which direction they need to go in.
I guess I'm trying to figure out, how would you distinguish that in real time? How do you evaluate that? Would it be something that a highway patrol helps out with, or who's the one making those decisions at the time?
So most incidents, especially when we're talking this type of scale and catastrophe, the incident is run under unified command. So it's not just one individual. It's going to be law and fire and whoever else is participating in that. And they would make those determinations on the fly, because each incident is going to be so dynamic that I couldn't be able to begin to forecast which routes would be available for a fire next week, essentially. So some of those decisions have to be made on the fly, unfortunately.
The reason I ask is not just because, obviously, we saw what happened with the Oroville situation in 2017, but secondarily, we do have the opportunity to apply for infrastructure money, for road widening or other things, and so I think if there was a way to determine which ingress and egress out of the county, what would demand more attention, we can certainly go for that. And we can, that our applications for these appropriations requests are even stronger with multi-jurisdictional applications, whether we applied with the city of Yuba City or the city of Live Oak. And so it would be nice to know if there was anything that we could do to help.
We can certainly use this data and some other data sources to prioritize different roadways as evacuation routes.
Okay.
To help with those applications.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Thank you, Zach. Very good presentation. I would just encourage the public to, now's the time to think about go bags and what you should have in there. And there's a wide variety of things you want in there: medications, change of clothes, some food, some any personal papers that you would absolutely find essential. And don't forget, this is not just for floods. This could be a terrorist attack. This could be a fire, which I don't think we'd have here on the valley floor, but you never know. It could also be for an earthquake. We haven't seen one of those in many, many years, but we're not immune to anything. And to be ready is critical. And don't forget that most dry years are followed by extremely wet year. So it's important that maybe this is the year we get ready now. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief. Zach, I just want to say thank you for your presentation. It's been a goal of this board for quite a while to make sure that we establish these evacuation routes. And even when we hired you, we knew you were going to be able to implement them. So we're really excited that you've been able to do so, and we look forward to implementation. Just a quick question, though, as far as educating the public going forward, what are the plans for that?
So there's a whole strategy and campaign around it. First off, getting it onto the county's website, integrating it into our handouts and brochures, but then we're also going to be conducting safety fairs, working with the different public information officers between both cities and the county and some of the other special districts to do a Know Your Zone campaign, utilizing best practices from Zone Haven and some of the materials that they've created. If you go to the OEM Facebook page, you'll see that we've already started branding Know Your Zone, and there's been a number of posts regarding that already. So there's a number of different ways that we're trying to get the word out. And as you'll hear shortly, once we confirm the date, there will be a emergency preparedness fair coming out shortly.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Zach. I appreciate that. And I really liked your test earlier, too. Time for 3 o'clock. That was perfect. Yeah.
Yes, Supervisor.
Through the chair. Thank you. Just that brings up another question then. So do we have a date that this is actually going to be adopted and implemented?
It's live now.
It is now. So we just need to get on with the educational part of it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 25, Guadalupe Rivera.
Approval of the list of vendors for road maintenance materials and services for fiscal year 2022 to 23. Approval of increased purchasing limits for the listed vendors and authorization for the Director of Development Services or their designee to execute all purchase order documents.
Good afternoon. With Neil being out of the office, I'll be presenting both the next two items for your consideration. For item 25, this is a routine item that is brought before your board yearly for authorization to exceed the county ordinance and state government code spending limits per vendor for various road maintenance needs. This is done as a proactive measure to ensure that we're able to procure the materials and services needed to address the various road needs in a timely manner as needed throughout the year. The table in your staff report shows the various vendors and the requested purchase limit for each. And the estimated cost for these purchases would not impact the general fund and have been included in the adopted budget for the current fiscal year. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Bring it back to the board. Well, first of all, I'm going to open up for public comment and speakers, and close it, bring it back to the board for discussion.
Okay, through the chair. So, Guadalupe, the numbers, are they, I'm trying to remember if this is similar or higher than last year. What's the percent increase from last year's prices?
Some are similar, some were reduced. We adjusted the numbers based on the actual amount or closer to the actual amount that was spent last year. So each year we evaluate what we spend, and then our purchase limit requests are adjusted accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair?
Yes, sir.
Move approval of the recommended action.
Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Flores, second by Supervisor Conan. Roll call, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegenmeyer?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to item number 26.
Adoption of the plans and specifications and authorization for the solicitation of bids for the fiscal year 2022 to 23 roof replacement projects. Project number C2318 00006 and C231800007, and authorization for the Director of Development Services to award the construction contract and administer the contract in compliance with Sutter County Ordinance 16-050 and the State Public Contract Code.
Thank you. This item is requesting the board adopts the plans and specifications for the roof replacement projects at both 595 Boyd Street, which houses the Probation and Adult Services Department, and 146 Garden Highway, which houses the General Services Department. At both of these facilities, the General Services Department has already addressed a number of repairs throughout the years. However, the storms from 2017, 2018, and 2021 have demonstrated that a new roof membrane is required at these locations. Staff also recommends, as was read by our clerk, that the authorization for the Director of Development Services to award and execute the contract to the lowest responsible bidder, and we will do so, if approved, if the price is below the project's budgeted dollar amount, allowing us to save time in the overall project schedule. If approved, the project would be bid out for a minimum of 30 days to be in compliance with the Public Contract Code, and the estimated costs were included in the adopted budget for the current fiscal year. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
We're going to open up for public comment. No speaker cards. Close the public comment. Bring it back to the board for.
Move to approve.
Second.
We got a motion by Supervisor Conant, second by Supervisor Flores. Roll call, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegenmeyer?
Yes.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to item number 27.
Approval of the final map and acceptance of the dedication shown thereon for TRS subdivision, Victoria Grove Court.
Good afternoon, Board Chair and Board members. David Tom, County Surveyor. This is an 8-lot subdivision located just off of Stewart Road to the west of where Caminito tees into Stewart Road. All the conditions of approval for the project have been met, and Subdivision Map Act requirements as well, and also the Sutter County Subdivision Ordinance Code has also been met. One of the conditions that have been met has been is basically that they provided calculations for drainage, estimating that each lot would have 5,000 square feet of impervious surface added to the lot, and so that calculations were made such that to determine the size of the pond, those ponds were installed on each lot, and then also a private drainage maintenance agreement was executed with the current owner, but it requires each subsequent owner of each individual parcel to maintain those drainage ponds so that it won't impact the county further down in history. So, are there any questions?
Through the chair. So, yeah, that was one of.
Can you open up for public comment, speaker cards? None. Bring it back to the board for discussion.
So, through the chair. So, Tom, so was there? I just want to make sure we don't have another Daphne Lane. I'm very paranoid about drainage issues in this area, and you're very confident in the drainage study that was done and it's adequate, not.
It was stamped by George Musalem and accepted by the county. So, yes, and then those detention ponds were installed per the plans, and they said the agreement was put in place that each subsequent property owner, as the lots are sold off, they'll have to leave those detention ponds in, and if they add improvements, they can be enlarged and whatnot, but they can't be undersized. I mean, they can't get rid of them, and the county has the right to go in there and check on that.
Okay. Good.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
I just move approval of the recommended action.
Second.
Got a motion by Supervisor Flores, second by Supervisor McKelly. Roll call, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegenmeyer?
Yes.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
All right, move on to motion passes. Moving on to item number 28.
Approval of a letter of agreement with the Sutter County Peace Officers Association for changes to the terms and conditions of employment.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board. Gina Rowland, Human Resources Director. So as has been widely publicized, The Sutter County Sheriff's Department is experiencing a critical staffing shortage for deputy sheriff. We've been unable to recruit deputies due to the fact that the salaries in surrounding and nearby counties are significantly higher. And our most recent salary survey results shows that the salary for deputy sheriff is about 17.5% below the average for our surrounding jurisdictions. So to address the critical recruitment and staffing challenges, staff recommends the county enter into a side letter with the Peace Officers Association to provide a 2-range adjustment for the title of deputy sheriff trainee, deputy sheriff, and sheriff sergeant detective, and senior criminal investigator. So all of these result in an approximate 12% increase for the 2-range adjustment, except for deputy sheriff trainee is a bigger increase to approximately 23%. We're also recommending that employees presently at step 1 advance to step 2, and employees at step 2 advance to step 3. There was an attachment to the staff report which showed a handful of employees that would be impacted by that change. We're also recommending that the sheriff be given the authority to hire new employees up to step 3 of the salary range. Presently, any hire above step 1 requires CAO and my approval. We're also requesting approval for a new 2.5% longevity premium pay for 5 years of service, because one of the issues that we're having at the Sheriff's Department is employees leaving. So we're attempting to retain them. We're also requesting an accelerated vacation accrual rate for laterals who come from other agencies. So new employees typically get 2 weeks of vacation per year. With approval of this provision, deputies would receive vacation accrual based on their total consecutive years of service. So in order to avoid compaction and ensure parity, we are requesting that these changes also be extended to sheriff's sworn management classes, including patrol lieutenant, DA investigation lieutenant, division commander, chief DA investigator, and undersheriff. And we're also requesting that the 2.5% longevity pay be extended to those titles as well, again, to ensure parity and address compaction. So the total cost of these changes is approximately $466,078. And the cost of the additional longevity pay is approximately $39,298 for the remainder of fiscal year 2022-23. To extend these increases to the unrepresented sworn management classes, it's about $117,000 for fiscal year 22-23. And this, the terms and conditions are consistent with bargaining authority that was previously provided by your board. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'm going to open it up for public comment and speaker cards. Seeing none, we're going to close and bring it back to the board for discussion.
Move to approve. Something we need to do on overdue. We've been working on this problem, and we just, no matter what we do, we can't seem to resolve it, but hopefully this will get us closer.
Second.
Brennan?
Second the motion.
You know, I'm going to comment on this, and I think this is something that needs to be done here. And people ask, you know, where it's, you know, it's public safety, which has been our #1 emphasis here on this board. And actually, if you look over the last 10 years past, it's been public safety. And we do realize that there's other departments in the county. We respect you as well, and we think you're all doing an amazing job. But right now, we have a problem with losing so many, not just sheriff deputies, detectives, and so forth, that it's just something that's trickling down from the big cities to the rural communities. And when you look at a staff that has less than so many years experience, and we want to start building upon something and get back to where we were, and I think this is the right step, especially for the public safety of Sutter County. So we got a motion by Supervisor McKelly. I'm sorry, motion by Supervisor Conant and a second by Supervisor McKelly. Roll call, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegenmeyer?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to item number 29.
Approval of a letter of agreement with Sutter County Professional Firefighters Association for changes to the terms and conditions of employment.
Afternoon, Chair, members of the board. This is a similar item as what you just considered and approved. Currently, except for the Sutter County Professional Firefighters Association. So presently, the salary for firefighter 1 is below minimum wage. The salary hasn't been adjusted in years, but we also haven't used the class title in years. But given the recruitment challenges that the department has been experiencing, they would like to try to recruit at that level, and so we'll need to adjust that salary in order to do that. So we completed a salary survey for all of the class titles that we use in the fire department, and currently the firefighter's 23% below the average, fire engineer is 28% below the average, and fire captain is almost 33% below the average. So again, to address the serious recruitment and retention challenges that we have with our fire department, we're recommending a 4-range increase for firefighter, which is an approximately 24.5% increase, a 3-range increase for fire engineer, which is about nearly 17.5% increase, and then a 3-range increase for fire captain, which is about a 15.75% increase. We're also requesting to extend the longevity pay for 5 years of service, 2.5% to these employees. And then we're also requesting, one of the things in exchange for these agreements, the association has agreed to a 1-year contract extension. So their contract would have expired next June 30th, 2023. And they have agreed with these changes to extend their contract to June 30th, 2024. However, one of the reasons we got into this situation is by not providing ongoing salary increases every year. And so the agreement with the Firefighters Association also includes a reopener to talk about an ongoing salary increase only next May. Again, similar to the previous staff report, in order to avoid compaction and ensure parity, we're requesting that the increases be extended to the fire services manager as well as the fire battalion chiefs. Both of those will result in an approximate 16% increase. One thing we noticed, there was a typo in the staff report. We also intended to extend the 2.5%, the additional 2.5% longevity pay to these unrepresented fire management employees as well. So I'd like to add that, council, if we can, to the recommended actions.
Yes, that's not a problem.
The cost of the increases for fiscal year 2022-23 is approximately $206,766,000, and 3/4 of this cost will be paid for by the SAFER grant reimbursement. The net general fund cost is estimated to be $50,915. The department has sufficient salary savings to absorb the costs for the rest of this fiscal year. And again, these terms and conditions are also consistent with the bargaining authority previously provided by the board. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
With that being said, we're going to open it up for public comment. Any speaker cards? None. We're going to close public comment, bring it back to the board for discussion.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
So I'd just like to address this issue a little bit. This is another one that's long overdue. And really, it shouldn't have a general fund impact. Fire services in Sutter County have always been paid out of special assessment districts, primarily. We got the SAFER grant to help us through this problem for a 3-year period, and hopefully we'll get another 3-year period in the future out of them. But the special assessment districts were all set up in the early 90s, and the idea was they were flat. There was no accelerator, so no inflationary factor. We all know what things cost in the early 90s. We know what they cost now. Different animal. Back then, I was in the fire department in the early 90s, and you could buy a good fire truck for $150,000. You can't touch one now for $500,000. Well, and the same thing goes with wages. How do we fund these programs on flat fees? We can't do it. And so we're pulling money out of the general fund that probably shouldn't come out of the general fund, but we have no place else to get it. We've got to have fire service. We've got to have public safety. these firemen got to be paid a living wage. And I move to approve.
All right, is there any other discussion?
Second the motion.
All right,
Chairman,
I'd like
excuse me, Chairman.
Yes.
Council, if I could ask a clarifying question, just to make sure, the addition that you wanted to add, you said it was omitted from the staff report, but is it included in the side letter agreement?
No, because the addition is for the unrepresented sheriff's management, the battalion chief and the fire services chief, or fire services manager.
Could the recommended action be to, or adopt the recommended action and include the addition as stated by Ms. Rowland?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They will include that. All right. I'd like to have a quick discussion on that. We had testing done yesterday. How many showed up for testing?
Zero.
Zero. All right? Because we don't pay hardly anything. So we're going to vote on a pay raise here. It's going to get us pretty much nowhere. We're not going to attract anyone with that. Zero showed up for testing. How many people showed up for testing over at the sheriff's department? Not very many. So what I'm getting at is I'm not going to clap after this one, after this vote here, because it's not really what is deserving. It's something that we're trying to pull together and scrap together and do what's right within our means. And we don't have a lot of those. All right. So the sad thing is one of the lowest paid we're one of the lowest paid everywhere in darn near every department. And that's what our goal is, to fix this and to figure it out. And for our firefighters that are doing a bang-up job, I thank you very much. We thank you guys. Matt here was a 19-year volunteer. 20 year. I spent 2 years as a volunteer. And we're lucky to have the people that we do, but we're losing them just like all the other departments. And it's sad that no one shows up for testing. And they saw this raise that we're going to vote on. And trust me, we wish we could do more. But this is it. We're looking everywhere. We can't cut what we don't have to cut. And
go ahead. Then I want to add one last thing.
So with that being said, I just, once again, thank you guys for all that you do. And we know you do a lot for very little in return, just like every other department here in the county. All right.
So one thing I didn't mention is everybody said, oh, we're building lots of new houses. That's how we can outgrow this problem. We only build about 30 houses in a rural county a year. And we probably tear down that many. And why? Because the county is mostly in the floodplain. 68% of landmass of the county is in the floodplain. 10% is in the buttes. You can't build on those two. So you're limited sites to build to expand your housing infrastructure. Good luck trying to become affordable housing, keeping the governor happy. I'll leave it at that.
CAO Smith.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Supervisors. Just one quick comment. I had been asked before about ambulance versus fire response, and often you see them at the same incidents, of course. So I asked the fire department to run some numbers for the past 90 days, and 100% of the time Sutter County Fire has arrived before the ambulance service. And that isn't to, I'm not trying to put down the ambulance service, I'm just showing that it is vital in saving people's lives versus saying that we can rely solely on ambulance coverage. Additionally, an ambulance isn't going to be able to cut you out of a vehicle or put out a fire, but I just wanted to provide that response time information.
Thank you, Steve. All right, so we have a motion by Supervisor Flores. You made the motion, didn't you? Or Supervisor Conate, second by Supervisor Flores. Roll call, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Zagenmeyer?
Yes.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to item number 30.
Approval of the Board of Supervisors' response to the 2021-2022 Grand Jury Final Report.
And Steve, if you wouldn't mind keeping, we can go into more detail. Like I said, I just want to give back to our Supervisor's father who's not doing so well.
Yes, thank you. So First, I want to recognize and thank the efforts of the grand jury. We have some former grand jurors here. I'm not sure if there's any current grand jurors to recognize, but it is such a incredible amount of basically volunteer time given, and sometimes over multiple years. So just wanted to recognize the effort that our citizens that participate in the grand jury put into these tasks. There were 2 reports, one on the sheriff and sheriff staffing and one on behavioral health. The one on sheriff and sheriff staffing, and you all have the report, and it's all posted online and the responses online. If I read through everything, it'd probably take us a half an hour. So what I'm going to do is give a quick summary, ask Sarah Eberhardt-Rios to give a quick summary as well on the behavioral health side, and then we'll answer any questions. But the only finding and recommendation that was asked of the board to respond to regarding the sheriff was finding 5 about noting that staff are underpaid and it can cause high turnover, and then that there's an excellent in-depth report by management partners on Sutter County Sheriff's Department, and that this should be a cause for action. So the board has essentially already acted on that and has just now again made significant efforts to do what we can to help stop turnover and retain employees in the sheriff's office. So on excuse me, on behavioral health, I put some additional information out front, which was a response. We had a surprise, if you call it, or a unannounced visit from the Department of Healthcare Services that went through, and they were an invited response, so I put their response out there. In general, I would say, and you can see by reading through it, we just got it yesterday, that's why it's not on the agenda, but that they had maybe less concern than the grand jury on some of these items. However, that's not to say the grand jury's concerns aren't legitimate. It's just saying that maybe the grand jury has a higher standard, and that can be a good thing because we want to exceed. We don't want to be average or barely meeting standards. So many of the recommendations we have already implemented or are in process. And Sarah, if you want to speak to some of that, and then we can answer questions.
Thank you, CAO Smith and Chairman Ziegenmeyer, members of the board. I'm Sarah Eberhardt-Rios. I'm Sutter County's Health and Human Services Director. And Sutter County Health and Human Services appreciates the grand jury's report and the opportunity to respond. We share the grand jury's interest in the safety and quality of care for patients and staff at our Sutter Yuba Behavioral Health Psychiatric Health Facility and campus. We look forward to following up on the items outlined in our response and included in the board item today. I would note that our Sutter Yuba Behavioral Health Advisory Board and of course DHCS, our regulatory oversight body, have submitted responses to the grand jury's report, as CAO Smith has mentioned, and we of course look forward to integrating those responses as we implement the items outlined in our staff report today. As Steve mentioned, CAO Smith, the Department of Healthcare Services did come and visit us unannounced at our Sutter Yuba Behavioral Health Psychiatric Health Facility on June 30th of 2022, and they found our psychiatric health facility to be meeting regulatory requirements and noted that they would continue to monitor our progress in addressing findings and recommendations, some of which have been implemented to include new signage on the behavioral health campus, and of course those things that are in progress, which include the installation of a new video monitoring system and an upgrade to a new electronic health record with increased functionality. And we thank the grand jury for their time and their recommendations, and we look forward to continuing to addressing concerns and issues as listed in the report. And this concludes my comments on this.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, we're going to open up for public comment. Look for speaker cards. I have one speaker card. Heather Etchman.
Yes. Right. Heather Etchman, yes. I'm not here as a I am a member of the Sutter Yuba Behavioral Health Advisory Board. I'm not here speaking for the board. I'm speaking for myself. First, I'd like to thank Rick Bingham for basically offering, before we were able to, within this time frame, to do a tour. I toured the facility and saw some of the things, and I do think it's good that the county said that there is something there that needs to be addressed and that they're addressing it, and they were telling me about what things they wanted to implement, and I thought that was very helpful. But basically, we were able to get kind of a synopsis of what the board was thinking about doing to try and help in some of the efforts that the county's doing. One of the things, though, is to make sure that we're starting up our site visits, which is part of what our requirement is as the board. Obviously, due to COVID, that kind of got forgotten a little bit, but we're going to start that up with full force. And if I have to, I'll volunteer to do those. The other thing was just checking to the maintenance of the facility. And I know that it doesn't, so there's a difference between pavement and gravel, great, but as somebody who's had to drive over there because I'm a family representative and having to drive into that parking lot, and it's also, there's a bus that comes in there too. It's not very, it would be pretty tough if you're not a really good bus driver to try and navigate that little entrance there and all of that. So that could cause some problems too, but it's when it's raining and it's just really nothing but it's hard to get in and out of. And anything that you can do, because I know that there is some plans I saw in the budget that you're planning on some things for the parking lot. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to find some of that monies, whether it's just on Sutter County alone, or if there's something between Sutter County and Yuba County that you guys can work out together. I don't know. But I just wanted you to know that if you have any questions as far as what it looks like there for real, and you wanted to ask somebody that's outside of either the department, then you're welcome to contact me. I think that at least 3 of you know me pretty well, and so you know also that I talk to you for myself. But if there's any other questions, I do appreciate that you took this really with a lot of consideration and not just disagreed with everything, but really looked at it and said, okay, these are certain things that need to get implemented, including the video cameras, because even though it's not necessarily a requirement or anything like that, it is very helpful for them. I could see that. So I appreciate you making that effort to make those expenditures. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe every one of us have sat on the Behavioral Health Board at least a couple years, kind of. So, yeah, thank you very much. All right, we are going to bring it back to the board here for to approve the, or is this, yeah, we're going to, are we voting for?
Approve the response.
Yeah. Approve our response.
Yeah, to approve those, staff will send it to the.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I got a motion to approve by McKelly.
But I want to comment.
And second by Supervisor Conant. Would you like to comment first? And then
well, I'll comment after the second since we got that part. First of all, I'd like to thank the grand jury. You guys did a great job. I always find it refreshing that you guys are worried about the same things I'm worried about. And I just, some of the things anyway, I have a lot of worries. But anyway, I really appreciate the comments about the Sheriff's Department and behavioral health. And Sarah, I think you're going to do a great job for us. Now, how long have you been working for, how long have you had your new job? 3 months? Yeah, I was going to say less than 3 months. Anyway, I congratulate you for coming in and run that bull, grab that bull by the horns and go for it. But I appreciate the grand jury's response and comments, and I'm glad to see that you guys are worried about the same things we are. Thank you.
I echo those comments. I think that's outstanding. It takes a lot to be a grand jury. It takes, I mean, what is it, 2 meetings a month? And please, if you consider joining the grand jury, please really consider it and join. I know they're always looking for members. Is it just 2? Is it 2 a month? 3 or 4 a month? I've heard it's a lot of work, but hopefully more people join. It's awesome. All right, so let's get a roll call, please. We have a motion. We have our motion and our second. All right.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegenmeyer?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Moving on to item number 32 and 34, no action required, but
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Supervisors. Just a quick mention, there was a comment earlier about meeting times, and I just wanted to clarify, because it was mentioned, we are the only county in the state that I'm aware of that meets at 3 o'clock. Every other county except one that I know of meets at 9 a.m. The one 10 a.m. is MODOC. Every other county except us meets at 9 a.m. I'm open to be corrected on that, but I think that's the case. And then there was a question about spending county money on a campaign, and that's not the case either. There's money spent on impartial information gathering and gathering public input on a variety of topics of interest under the purview of the Board of Supervisors. And I think the money was spent wisely, and we're turning over records on that. Kern County, when they were getting feedback from the public, received 900 responses total. So they have a population of about 900,000. So they got about 100 responses per 100,000 people. We have 100,000 people and got 605 responses. So we got about 6 times that, and did our best to get the information out there. So just wanted to provide that additional information on those topics. Thank you.
Well, follow up on that. I want to thank those individuals that have come into the office to ask those questions. I implore you to do that. If you have any questions on anything, come on in and ask. We'll make the time. So we don't care what time it is. Like I said, if any one of us are wide open for any one of you to there's plenty of questions. Some questions have been asked. What's the budget look like? Why don't you cut public works? Why don't you cut behavioral health? Why don't you do this and that? And I said, well, here are the reasons, why we can't cut this and why we can't cut that. And this doesn't affect the general fund. This doesn't come out of any. So like I said, there's a lot of questions, and you deserve to ask those questions, because we have there's the answers and there's the paperwork. And so if you feel free to make an appointment or come on in to get any questions answered that you might have. With that, we're going to move on to district reports, and we'll start out with Supervisor McKelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to let everybody know District 1 this weekend in Live Oak is the Fall Festival, and that starts at 1 at the Memorial Park there, and that's always a good time. Arts and crafts, food. I think the sheriff always has a display, so does the fire department. So that's a lot of fun. A car show there, and then that's preceded by a parade, which I think starts around 11, I believe. And that's always a good time. And so if you can come out and support Live Oak, that'd be great. And the businesses of Live Oak have gone through a really tough couple of years with COVID and the highway widening, but it's open and it's beautiful down there. And if you could go and show your support. I was just there yesterday. My daughter had the day off of school, so we went to Betty's for lunch and then walked across the street to the penny candy store and got a little preview of what my little monster is going to be like for Halloween, all revved up on candy. So that was fun. Also, if we could just keep Supervisor Baines and his family in our thoughts tonight. I know him and his family are going through difficulty tonight. But also I'd like to request that we close in memory of Don Mayo, who's the owner of OMC Manufacturing. Him and most of his family live in Live Oak. We've known them for years. Dear friends of the family. Don was 78 years old and passed away with his loving family around him. And, moreover than what they have contributed economically for our community, their products are shipped all over the world. Really, the family is involved in philanthropy and community service, and so he will be greatly missed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Conant.
Personal friend, a great guy, a little rough at times, but give his shirt off of his back any day of the week. But I'd just like to say a couple things. We had the Labor Day parade last week in Nicholas, and great turnout, great support for the local schools. that parade generates many thousands of dollars a year, and they haven't had it for 2 years because of COVID. But great community outpouring, and I heard it did very well this year as well. And it supports the high school and the 3 feeder schools, Pleasant Grove, Markham, and Browns, as well as East Nicholas. And it's a good time to have by all, and a lot of fun. And a lot of entries, over 80 entries in the parade this year. So great to see everybody out there. Thank you.
All right. I'm Supervisor Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to add to the condolences for Don as well. Great man, did a great job in growing his business, growing OMC, and lots of impact to the community. So I'll offer those condolences. And then I want to say thank you to Supervisor Conant and Supervisor Gigmeyer and Supervisor Baines, who showed up to the Say Love dinner down in the heart of Sutter County over on Plumas Street. But I'll tell you, Supervisor Conant has a special concoction. You know, he calls it, it's a lemon drop, but I think so many people drank these lemon drops that they bid lots of money on things that I'm not sure they knew what they were bidding on, but they made a lot of money. There were over 200 people that showed up to the event. It was just a really nice event in downtown Yuba City, so it was really great to be there. And thanks again for everybody who participated with it. Also want to add the Holiday Inn Hotel is coming along really nicely down in the heart of the 2nd District, and I can't wait till that opens up in the next few months. I see that we'll have a ribbon cutting there, so hopefully we'll all be there and enjoy the opening of a 105-bedroom or 105-room hotel. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I'd like to put my name as well on the Don Mayo. Don was an amazing guy, amazing engineer, just his passion for life. He went out with a bang, with one heck of a send-off there. Gone way too early. I thought he'd outlive us all in Venaway. I mean, from his shakers, from his tree toppers. I had a lot of good times with Don, especially at the World Ag Expos. He was their number one salesman. He was their number one engineer. He was number one for that company. And it's going to take a lot to fill those shoes, especially what he's done in the community. Everywhere you saw, you OMC. So, and I'm sure the family's going to carry it on, his grandkids and his daughters, but big shoes to fill there. I'd like to close in memory of Robert Romero, who 58 of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, passed away last week, and Justin Taylor, 34 of Yuba City. I'm sorry, Justin Taylor O'Neill. Coach Justin when he was a freshman at Sutter High School. Great kid, funny kid. He's behind a brother and mom and dad. He's going to be greatly missed. Kurt Higgins, 52 of Yuba City, who Nick and I used to ride snowmobiles with back in the day. Great guy. His life went off track, but he got it back on track, and he was doing really well there, and gonna miss that guy. Heck of a guy. And Gaylord Vershaw. Used to own the Burger Kings here in town. Did a lot. Great guy. Super duper guy. Gonna miss him big time. He passed away back in August 22nd. Couple things. Now we're gonna move on to the positive side here. Love to see new faces in the crowd. We got Bryce Dibble here and we got Louis Carrillo here. Now, I know you're past Sutter Husky. Where are you from? River Valley, we're not, okay, it's fine. It's fine, River Valley Falcon. All right, but it's great to see the young blood coming in here and from locally grown right here, growing up right here. This is awesome. They went to college and came back here and working in the community that they grew up in. That is a positive thing right there. All right, that thing, let's talk about on next agenda. I'd like to see us, hopefully we'll work with Chief Shalowitz on ACs for some of our aged fire trucks, some of the grass rigs. That's something I think we should work with them on that, especially we still got a little bit of summer left. We're not out of it yet, but these guys are working on some of these grass rigs with from 1970, 1960 that have no ACs. And there are some, just like with the old classic cars, there's some AC componentry you could put in there. So, okay. So All of you are aware of Measure A that is going to be on the ballot. All right, that's one thing that is going to be up to the voters on you and us to decide on, to vote on. And it's imperative that you really do your homework on this and ask the right questions. No one likes taxes. I don't want to pay more taxes. I see a Yuba College bond on there, a couple Sutter High School bonds, actually a couple Yuba College bonds, I believe. And you look at what you're going to get out of it. That's how I look at it. You know, I remember when the Sutter High School bond first went out 10 years ago and it got denied. And this past time it went out there, it got approved. I think because there's more people in the community thinking, my kids and grandkids are going to utilize those gyms and those classrooms. That's what I want to support. And we look at the services that we provide right now, and I see people post on certain items, well, you don't need this and you don't need that in service, but I'd like to have a safe community or a safer community. I'd like to actually have 4 sheriff deputies patrolling instead of 1 or 2. And it's not just because they got 3 or 4 or 5 sitting back at the department twiddling their thumbs, because that's all they have. I'd like to see 2 firefighters working in the department, whether we receive a safer grant or not. I'd like to see, we're down, I believe we have 15 positions in the public works and we're down 5. In behavioral health, we talked about that earlier. We're down 30%. Actually, it's 29.5%, so I'm just going to call it 30%. Just in that department alone. I can't imagine what we're down in probation and what we're down so right across the board, but that's public health, that's public safety. All right, and these are things that we need to figure out how to fund. And this is a big deal. So do your homework and ask those questions. And the other thing is, I want the city to be known that we want to work with the city. We want to work with the city of Live Oak, and we want to work with their public safety and make this all work together. And that'll be it for me. Thank you. All right. With that being said, can we get a motion?
A motion.
All right. Can I get a roll call, please?
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegenmeier?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
And motion passes, and we are going to adjourn, and we are going to roll into closed session.
Can we take a quick break?
And we're going to we'll take a couple-minute break, and we're going to roll into closed session. Did you know Gaylord?
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe, with lessons, in person and personalized. Instruments including guitars and amps, horns, strings for instruments, and a myriad of music and sound equipment. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe.